for me, I was like, okay, I just really don't want them to unsubscribe because like that just takes them completely out of the funnel. And then we have to start from scratch. But we sort of realized that like if they're unsubscribing because of that, they were never for us in the first place. So sort of just realizing
Hmm.
they're unsubscribing, they were never going to become a customer anyway, or somebody who was like a loyal follower of us anyway.
Welcome to Keep It Local, a podcast of the Local Media Association. The Local Media Association is intensely focused on helping local media companies discover new and sustainable business models. We are joined today, delighted to be joined by Bethany Lane, a revenue strategist at QCity Metro in one of my favorite cities in America, Charlotte, North Carolina. Bethany was named an Innovator of the Year by the Local Media Association for her impressive ability to connect with audience, especially for her digital-only publication. Welcome to the show, Bethany.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm excited to be here.
Well, this first question, it's a super tough one. I like to start with the hard questions. Bethany, tell us about yourself and tell us about Q City Metro.
Sure. I have been in the advertising realm for about like 8 years now. I actually worked at the student newspaper at UNC Chapel Hill as an account executive on the ad staff. And then from there, I graduated right in the middle of COVID in 2020. And luckily, Q City Metro was hiring, which was surprising. But I came aboard as their first full time revenue focused person. So I got to really just build it from scratch as far as like how we do advertising sales, how we do our reader revenue and stuff like that. So I've been here just around five years now. I love every single moment of it. Every day is different. And I just really enjoy getting to do something that I feel like matters for our community. So
Fantastic. I'm a big fan of student publications. University of North Carolina, good journalism school. Did you grow up in North Carolina?
yeah, I'm actually from Durham. So it was always my dream to go to Chapel Hill, and luckily that came true. So I love the J school there. So
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to get right into the questions as it pertains to our local media association audience. And your growth story is very impressive at Q City Metro. That's why you were an Innovator of the Year this year. And especially as it pertains to donor revenue. And of course, sustainability is at the heart of what Local Media Association does. Can you walk us through your donor revenue journey at Q City Metro? And is there one campaign or experiment that you would say was your most successful? What went into it? And what could you say about the results?
yeah. So when I started in 2020, I think we had maybe 100 or so active donors. And to be honest, we didn't really prioritize the program or our current donors at all until maybe like 2022 ish. We started really getting into like, okay, how can we build this program up? And so from there was a really big learning curve. Obviously, most of my time had been spent focusing on like advertising sales, on like, give me money, I'll give you an ad, versus this, we're just asking for straight money. So I think me and my team really had to like overcome that hurdle of like the awkward feeling of saying like, "Hey, can you give us money? Like help support us." So I think that was like the first year or so, just like figuring out how to ask, when to ask, and like finding the balance between like being annoying and also saying like, "We need y'all's help or in order to stay here." Like we know obviously by our numbers and our readership base that they enjoy the content we make, but we sort of also realized that a lot of people who are our readers didn't realize that local journalism needed funding. They just thought it was like cheap, easy. I don't know. They just didn't realize that there was funding that we needed. So I think that was a hurdle for us. But I think our very last campaign that we did was this past November through January, and it sort of celebrated our 16th anniversary of Q City Metro. So we sort of went into it with a really big idea of doing a video campaign. So we started off with like 10 videos and we interviewed like past Q City Metro employees and as well as like people donors who read our news every day. And we just started asking like, what do you guys love about Q City Metro? What makes you give every month? And we also, me and my team also did some like fun videos of like, asking people like, why aren't you donating yet? Like, did you forget? Did your credit card get lost? Like, why aren't you donating? And just sort of like being very obvious and upfront about our ask. And so that was a really fun series. We just spent 2 days in the studio doing the videos, writing out the scripts, everything like that. Then we had a video editor who did an amazing job making them look pretty.
Mhm.
Then we scheduled them out over about 8-week campaign. And then at the end, we also had a birthday party, and only people who donated were invited. So it was just super fun, and we got a lot of engagement from that. And it ended up pretty well. We got over $10,000 in donations throughout that period.
Wow. That's an entire marketing activation to go from concept to an event at the end there, and one of the things that I loved about what you talked about, and it's a challenge that every newsroom has, is the ask, the quid pro quo, money for placement inside a publication, but it's also selling newsrooms or excuse me, selling advertisers on the notion that local journalism needs funding, which I think was, fascinating, and you experienced that firsthand. Another thing that spoke to me about what you said is how your approach really is tied to human connection. Credit to Gen Z. Human connection and authenticity is very much a part of your social strategies. Humor, honesty, even those personal video appeals. But let me ask you, how do you decide when to take a bolder, unconventional approach as opposed to playing it safe?
Hmm. I think in the first, like, 2 years or so of starting this out, we were definitely playing it safe all the time. We wanted to come across, like, very clean, very well spoken, and very much like, "Hey, if you like our work, donate." But then we sort of realized, like, especially during this campaign of us, like, these people are just, like, not realizing how, like, urgently we need their money and support. And so that's when me and Glenn was our boss and founder, sort of came up with the idea of like, let's just ask them and be straightforward. And one of the campaigns that we sent in that birthday campaign just sort of said like, "Hey, we can't do this without y'all. Like, if you want this, you have to help us." And that one was like our most converting email e-blast of the whole series. So I think now I sort of have the approach of like, I'm always just going to be blunt and honest because I don't really have time or extra resources to like play it safe anymore. We really need help. We really need that support. So, like, I think we've sort of decided as a team, we're gonna stick to honesty and humor and bluntness. So,
I like that, and I think that appeals to, people on the internet who really value their time. They're like, "I'll give you a minute, but you gotta bring it every time." Many local publishers struggle to convert audience engagement into financial support. We've talked about so far the quid pro quo, the making the ask. But what would you say has been the single biggest mindset or tactical shift? You talked about just now the notion that, "Hey, we're gonna make that switch to actually asking, making the ask every time." Are there other tactical shifts you made that have helped QCity Metro grow donor revenue so dramatically?
yeah, I think, a big thing that we decided on was and this was really hard for me personally to move past. I was always the one saying, like, "I don't think we should do this." But, we sort of just came up with the idea of, like, okay, every single day at our newsletter, we're gonna have an ask, and we're also gonna send out, like, we usually do it monthly, sometimes more often, just, like, another ask, an e-blast to all of our readers. For me, I was like, "Okay, I just really don't want them to unsubscribe," because, like, that just takes them completely out of the funnel, and then we have to start from scratch. But we sort of realized that, like, if they're unsubscribing because of that, they were never for us in the first place. So sort of just realizing
Mm.
they're unsubscribing, they were never gonna become a customer anyway, or somebody who was, like, a loyal follower of us anyway. So we're not really losing much, we're sort of just losing, something we didn't need. So that was a really big mind shift change for me, I think, because I was just like, "I just want the biggest number of newsletter subscribers ever, and then I can sell it to all the advertisers in the world." But then sort of realizing, like, what we have that's unique to us is the loyal audience that really cares and trusts our news, and that's the one that we wanna appeal to every time, and they're never gonna be the ones who unsubscribe because we're asking for money, so
You speak there, I believe, to the fear of the unsubscribed, the fear of churn, and really digging into who is not only your core audience, but who is the right audience. Your work there at Q City Metro is rooted in supporting Black media, local Black media. How do you think audience engagement and funding strategies differ for culturally specific publications? And what advice would you give others serving similar communities?
yeah, I think it's different because one, obviously the inequities. We don't have our readers don't have the same resources readers of other publications might have. So like we have to understand that. And even in some of our campaigns, we've said like we know this is a hard economic time, but if you have change to spare, we'll take $5 a month, whatever. So I think being very acknowledging the economic times that we're in has been helpful and like shows our readers that we're authentic and understand what they're going through. But also for us in particular, like, we're about to launch a summer campaign to say, like, "Hey, we wanna hire some interns this fall, like, help us fund that." But we also are gonna say, like, we don't wanna just hire interns, we wanna hire interns from HBCUs, and we know that a core, like a meaningful thing for our readers is to see that like we have a lot of readers who went to HBCU, support HBCU. So to see that we're hiring from them, I think will really like inspire them to donate. That we get tons of HBCUs advertise with us every single like week. So I think just like pulling on what works for your audience has sort of been like something that we've gotten to use in the past and has seen like performs well. Just like we know that like some headline that says black owned business XYZ performs way better than other headlines. So we know it works well. And so we try to like pull on those. We're also asking for money to sort of show that like, hey, we're in this too. We understand what's important to us and important to you guys. So
Yeah, and right now, with the economy the way it is and with the, anti-DEI backlash, I think that that sense of saying, "Hey, we're in this with you," is a sense of, cooperation, camaraderie with your community.
yeah, definitely. We want them to know like we're not backing down because of all of this stuff. Like we're not just gonna turn around and become something new. We're still gonna be who we are. So
Our final question, but we're gonna go into depth a little bit. It's one of my favorite questions because we get to talk a little bit of tech. Looking ahead, what's the next frontier for audience and revenue innovation at QCity Metro? Anything you're excited to test or build in the coming year? And that might mean, are there any new technologies, anything with AI you're doing, anything like that that's on the horizon that you can talk about?
yeah. Um I think a lot of newsrooms are doing this. I've seen this, across the board is, having, like, the AI, read the article, but, like, in a human voice, and it has, like, music in the foreground and stuff. We're doing that more. We're trying to play with that and see, like, if we can make, like, playlists that play all of our news from this past week or all the news related to Black business from the last month to sort of see how our readers respond. So, we're playing with that. We're hoping we can get, some engagement there and obviously some advertisers. Aside from that, like, we're in, like, a Canva boosting program, so we're trying to figure out how we can
Mm.
use, our graphics and appeal better to our readers on social media. We have a good social following, but none of us are, like, experts on social, so we want to figure out how to do that better. And then also we're trying to really dive into events. I know we're starting to talk about tech, but that's sort of something that we've seen too, it's just that, like, that's a good way that we can really, like, get our audience engaged and, like, loyal to us, but then also get some, sponsorships in that way and ticket sales. So those are a few things that we're looking forward to in the coming years. Also, of course, looking forward to the economy going for the better. That would be great. But I think on that front, as far as, like, what we're planning on, audience and revenue-wise, those are definitely some of the big factors at the moment.
Do you have an event or anything that you can talk about just yet, or is there one in the books?
Yeah, so, we did this one last year, but it's the same thing this year, this the second year of the Low Country Food and Culture Festival. So, it's literally like a festival where it's a food festival, basically. We're bringing, like, chefs, from the Low Country area to create tastings, and we'll have, like, cocktails, wine, and beer, and then also, like, artists and vendors selling their goods. And so it's basically just, like, trying to show off the area of the Low Country to Charlotteans. And so it's not really like you would never think like a media organization would be doing something like that. It's not necessarily tied to journalism, but we've seen it could be like a moneymaker for us. And obviously, revenue is always top of mind for us to like help support our journalism. So that's one that it's in books for September 13th. Tickets are already on sale for that. So that's something that like we've seen has worked well for us in the past. And we just got to think outside the box when it comes to revenue ideas. So
Well, you've really tied into something. As a longtime journalist, we like to eat, and food is good. I mean, it's something that's the community. The community loves food. You would think more newsrooms would latch onto that. Okay, so I'm going to start a new tradition here in this episode of Keep It Local. I want to ask you: is there a podcast that everybody needs to be listening to? What are you listening to right now?
I have been listening to yours. Aside from that, I'm listening to, something called Manager Tools. I became a manager, like, for the first time, like, 2 years ago, and I feel like I'm, like, just now really delving into, like, how to be a good manager, how to not, like, play the role, but, like, play it really well. So Manager Tools has been helping me sort of just, like, think through, "Okay, what should our one-on-ones actually talk about? Like, what should those look like? What's the best way to deliver feedback that's good and bad? And how often should I be doing each?" So just, like, stuff like that that I would have just never thought about before this has been really helping me, like, think through how to be a better manager and a better team player. So I really like that one. I think it's called Manager Tools. I get it on Apple Podcasts, so
Fantastic. I think I'm familiar with that one because I think that may come from the Patrick Lencioni group, the table talk, the team. Yeah, that's good stuff. Bethany Lane, Digital Innovator of the Year for your work at QCity Metro. I will tell you, I've visited the site several times. It's a great looking site. It's impressive work, and it's important work. It's really important work, and I thank you so much for joining us here on Keep It Local.
Thank you, Ryan. This has been so fun. I'm excited to listen.
This has been Keep It Local, a podcast of the Local Media Association. If you got value out of today's podcast, why not give it a review wherever you heard it and share it with a fellow journalist or an entire newsroom? Until next time, for Keep It Local, this is Ryan with the Local Media Association.